Other footage from the ISS has reinforced the idea that strange things are happening up in orbit. Check this picture out. It's from 2015, when a British astronaut saw three lights moving in formation near the ISS.
A strange spherical object suddenly appeared on NASA's live stream from the ISS, only for the feed to mysteriously cut out seconds later. What if these were just technical glitches, or deliberate attempts to hide something from the public? Multiple UFO researchers have documented similar occurrences, and the pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Join us as we explore why NASA shut down a live feed as unidentified objects flew past the International Space Station. The universe around us is vast beyond comprehension, and according to scientific research, we may have barely scratched the surface of what's out there. Current studies suggest we've only explored around 4% of our universe. The remaining 96% remains a vast unknown, filled with dark energy, dark matter, countless planets, and potentially civilizations we have yet to encounter. This reality led to the development of the International Space Station, one of humanity's most spectacular technological achievements. Created through collaboration between 5 international space agencies, the ISS serves as our eyes and ears in space, conducting research and scanning the solar system for signs of intelligent life. After decades of searching, scientists have finally begun documenting what appear to be advanced extraterrestrial objects in our solar system. But here's where things get interesting. While the scientific community celebrates these potential discoveries, there's growing evidence that not all of these encounters are being shared with the public. Reports of extraterrestrial sightings have circulated since the late 1940s, with an estimated 9,000 documented reports of unusual objects observed in our skies. These reports have captured worldwide attention, influencing everything from Halloween costumes to Hollywood blockbusters. But as technology advanced and our ability to monitor space improved, something unexpected began happening. The very organization tasked with exploring space began showing signs of wanting to control what the public could see. This brings us to 2015, when everything changed. NASA began broadcasting live feeds from the International Space Station's external cameras, offering viewers around the world a real-time glimpse of space. These broadcasts gained popularity as people enjoyed watching Earth from orbit and occasionally spotting satellites, space debris, or other phenomena. However, on one particular day, a mysterious object appeared on the feed before it was suddenly cut off. The object moved across Earth's horizon just as the stream was interrupted, lasting for over 10 seconds before the camera switched to a different angle. UFO researcher Toby Lund, who was watching the stream, captured screenshots of the object before the feed ended. Upon analyzing the images, Lund noticed the object resembled the Starfleet insignia from Star Trek, with its triangular shape and metallic appearance. He shared the photos online, igniting a heated debate about the object's origin. Weeks later, another UFO researcher, StreetCap1, reported a similar encounter. A dark, disc-shaped object was observed rising above the horizon. Like the first instance, the object disappeared after a few seconds. However, this time, instead of the feed simply cutting out, NASA operators switched the camera to another angle, which many perceived as an attempt to divert attention from the object. StreetCap1 analyzed the footage in detail, pointing out that the object was dark and structured, unlike the bright white appearance of the moon. The incident raised several questions. Was NASA deliberately cutting the feed to hide evidence of extraterrestrial life, or were these simply technical issues at particularly convenient times? NASA explained that the International Space Station occasionally moves out of range, causing brief interruptions in the live feed. While this explanation satisfied some viewers, it did little to quell the growing suspicion among UFO researchers who had documented several similar incidents. In numerous cases, the feed will cut out exactly when unusual objects appear, only resuming when the objects move out of frame. This repeated pattern suggested intentional interference rather than random technical glitches. On October 7th of that year, during a routine spacewalk by astronauts Reid Wiseman and Alexander Gerst, a new anomaly appeared in the background. Researchers noticed an object in the footage, which remained visible long enough for further analysis. While some suggested it was a lens flare or piece of space debris, UFO researchers disagreed, noting the object's movement and appearance didn't match typical space phenomena. This raised further questions about transparency. If the objects were simply debris or optical illusions, why didn't NASA provide a clear explanation to quash the growing conspiracy theories? The continued lack of answers only fueled suspicions and kept UFO researchers watching NASA's live feeds for more unexplained occurrences. Many researchers point to a larger pattern of secrecy surrounding unidentified aerial phenomena, which extends beyond NASA to various government agencies, military organizations, and international space programs. Central to this secrecy is the persistent conspiracy theory of the Black Knight satellite, which gained attention when NASA released photographs showing a mysterious dark object near the International Space Station. The object's shape was unclear, but it appeared artificial and unlike any known spacecraft or debris. UFO researchers quickly speculated that the Black Knight was an alien surveillance satellite, possibly monitoring Earth for thousands of years. The theory suggests that space agencies are aware of its existence but have agreed to keep it secret. NASA's response has remained consistent. The object is likely a thermal blanket or space debris that detached from the ISS during a spacewalk. They argue that space around the ISS cluttered with debris from decades of space missions. However, this explanation raises questions. If the object is just space debris, why hasn't it been tracked or cataloged like other debris? Why does it seem to remain in a stable position relative to the ISS, rather than drifting away as typical debris would? The mystery grew when researchers noted that the object was never photographed or observed again, despite the EIS's continuous camera feeds. If it were debris in a stable orbit, it should have been visible at other times. This ongoing lack of transparency has frustrated UFO researchers. Instead of offering detailed explanations or releasing more data to resolve these questions, NASA often provides vague responses that fail to address specific concerns. The pattern of limited transparency continued with a 2020 sighting, when the ISS captured an unidentified object visible for about 20 minutes, appearing to follow the space station's trajectory. This was unusual because the feed remained active during the entire encounter, allowing researchers to document the object's behavior in detail. The 2020 sighting was especially significant because the object displayed controlled movement, so maintaining a consistent distance from the ISS and matching its orbital velocity. This suggested either advanced technology or an unlikely coincidence. In 2021, researchers documented another intriguing sighting on the ISS livestream, where multiple disc-shaped objects appeared to move in formation, exhibiting coordinated movement patterns that defied conventional explanations. These recent sightings have intensified calls for greater transparency from NASA and other space agencies. If these objects are ordinary phenomena, why not provide detailed explanations? If they represent something extraordinary, doesn't the public deserve to know? The lack of official responses has fueled conspiracy theories, and trust in institutions continues to erode. And before we continue unfolding this fascinating discovery, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Don't forget to share it with your friends too. It helps the channel out, and I'm excited to continue bringing you more awesome content. Despite numerous documented sightings and mounting evidence, NASA has maintained silence regarding these incidents. The agency has not addressed the specific encounters or provided explanations for the suspicious timing of feed interruptions. This silence is especially puzzling given NASA's usual approach to public communication, where they typically offer explanations for unusual phenomena, like cloud formations or lighting effects on other planets. Yet, when it comes to unidentified objects near the ISS, their response has been notably absent. Some experts suggest the 2015 encounter was a technical malfunction, but this theory becomes less convincing when considering the recurring pattern of similar incidents. It also fails to explain why NASA hasn't improved systems to prevent interruptions, especially given public interest in the live feeds and the conspiracy theories they fuel. Professor Andrew Bala from Imperial College London offered insight, suggesting UFO sightings could be caused by artifacts, space debris, or remain unexplained due to poor quality footage. However, he noted that if NASA had access to high-quality versions of the footage, they could investigate and provide definitive explanations. The fact that NASA hasn't done so publicly raises questions about its priorities and transparency. This expert perspective underscores a key issue. The scientific community isn't dismissing these sightings but is calling for better data and more thorough analysis. NASA, which holds the best data, hasn't shared its findings with the public or the scientific community. NASA's silence is especially significant in the context of broader government disclosure about unidentified aerial phenomena. Recently, military and intelligence agencies have acknowledged encounters with objects displaying technology beyond current capabilities, making NASA's continued silence even more conspicuous. In November 2004, official acknowledgement of unidentified aerial phenomena began to shift when two Navy pilots were ordered to intercept an unidentified craft during a training exercise off San Diego. They encountered a 40-foot oval-shaped object hovering above the Pacific Ocean, 100 miles from shore. This encounter was significant because it was recorded on multiple sensor systems and witnessed by trained military personnel. The object displayed flight characteristics that defied conventional aerodynamics, including the ability to accelerate instantly from a hover to hypersonic speeds. When the pilots attempted to intercept it, the object vanished, only to reappear moments later in a location that would require impossible acceleration. This incident was documented and became part of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, created to investigate the increasing number of military encounters with UAPs. Navy pilots reported numerous encounters with objects capable of flying at hypersonic speeds while maintaining perfect control at high altitudes. The issue escalated in 2014 when a pilot reported a near collision with an unidentified object in controlled airspace, underscoring the potential safety risks posed by these phenomena. What was once considered science fiction was now a documented military reality, forcing a major shift in how official institutions approach the subject. Public opinion surveys reflect how these official acknowledgments have influenced belief in extraterrestrial visitation. In 1977, nearly one-third of Americans believed UFOs came from other parts of the universe. By the 1990s, surveys found that 20 to 25% of Americans had witnessed something they couldn't explain in the sky. Notably, in Roswell, New Mexico, many believed an alien spacecraft had crashed there in 1947. These consistent results over decades suggest that public belief in extraterrestrial visitation stems from genuine experiences, not just media or popular culture. A 1996 Gallup survey found that 71% of Americans thought the U.S. government knew more about UFOs than it revealed, a sentiment that has grown stronger as more military encounters have been acknowledged. In June 2021, when the federal government released its preliminary UAP report, it reignited public interest in these topics. The report itself was not as revealing as the acknowledgement it contained. For the first time, a government document confirmed that military personnel had encountered objects displaying technology beyond known scientific principles. This official recognition of inexplicable phenomena raises questions about NASA's silence on similar ISS observations. If military agencies have acknowledged encounters with such objects, why hasn't NASA provided transparency on its own unexplained sightings? The answer may lie in testimony from former intelligence officials who allege government knowledge of extraterrestrial technology, hinting at deeper levels of secrecy. David Grush, a former United States Department of Defense intelligence official, made headlines in June 2023 with claims that governments worldwide have recovered extraterrestrial remains, technology, and aircraft following visits to Earth. His allegations were supported by fellow whistleblowers Jonathan Gray and Christopher Mellon, both former Defense Department colleagues. Grush's credibility stems from his official position within the intelligence community and his access to classified information. Unlike previous UFO whistleblowers whose backgrounds were often questionable, Grush's qualifications and security clearances are well documented and verifiable. During congressional testimony in July 2023, Grush repeated his allegations under oath, offering to provide lawmakers with a list of individuals who had direct knowledge of what he described as a clandestine crash retrieval program. He claimed this program had been operating in secret since the end of World War II. The implications of Grush's testimony are staggering. If accurate, they suggest that the U.S. government has been recovering and studying extraterrestrial technology for over 70 years, while maintaining complete secrecy about these activities. Grush went further, claiming that he had seen classified documents indicating the United States had attempted to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin. He described violent confrontations between humans and UFOs that had resulted in casualties on both sides. These allegations echo earlier claims made by Bob Lazar in the 1980s, who asserted that he had participated in a classified reverse engineering program at Area 51. However, Lazar's background and credentials were later questioned, and he never provided concrete evidence to support his claims. Grush's situation is different. His qualifications are not in dispute, and Congress is taking his allegations seriously enough to conduct thorough investigations. The bipartisan nature of congressional interest suggests that these claims are being evaluated based on their merit, rather than political considerations. The congressional response to Grush's testimony represents a potential turning point in government transparency regarding unidentified aerial phenomena. For the first time, lawmakers from both parties are demanding answers and threatening consequences if intelligence agencies refuse to cooperate. This political pressure creates an interesting context for reconsidering the NASA incidents we discussed earlier. If Congress is demanding transparency about military encounters with unidentified objects, shouldn't the same standards apply to civilian space agencies? The historical precedent for government secrecy regarding national security matters provides important context for understanding how such cover-ups might be maintained. The infrastructure and legal framework for classifying information already exists, making it theoretically possible to conceal extraordinary discoveries. Military bases across the United States occupy millions of acres of restricted territory, where unauthorized access is prohibited under penalty of death. Area 51, the most famous of these facilities, covers nearly 3 million acres, almost twice the size of Delaware. The security measures surrounding these facilities are extraordinary. Armed guards are authorized to use deadly force against trespassers, and the airspace above these installations is completely restricted. What happens within these boundaries remains classified for decades, if not permanently. The government's ability to maintain secrecy was demonstrated during the Cold War, when projects like the Manhattan Project involved thousands of personnel while remaining completely hidden from public knowledge. More recently, the existence of stealth aircraft technology was successfully concealed for years before being officially acknowledged. The 1947 Roswell incident provides a perfect example of how official explanations can be used to conceal classified activities. Military officials initially claimed that crashed debris found on a rancher's property had originated from a flying saucer, only to retract this statement hours later and claim it had been a weather balloon. Decades after the 1947 Roswell incident, it was revealed that the debris from the crash was not from an alien spacecraft but from Project Mogul, a top-secret program designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests. The government wasn't covering up extraterrestrials, but they were certainly hiding the truth, maintaining this deception for over 30 years. This example demonstrates that government agencies have the capability and willingness to maintain elaborate cover-ups when national security is at stake. The question arises, would potential contact with extraterrestrial intelligence be considered a national security matter requiring similar secrecy? The psychological aspect of UFO sightings provides another key layer to understanding these phenomena. Studies show that people often interpret ambiguous visual information as evidence of extraterrestrial activity. The primary psychological explanation for UFO sightings is pareidolia, where the brain identifies familiar patterns in random or unclear stimuli, such as seeing faces in clouds or hearing voices in noise. Nigel Watson, author of the UFO Investigation Manual, explains how pareidolia applies to space-based UFO reports. He notes that many UFO images from space are blurry and ambiguous, making them easy to misinterpret. Watson points out that many of these sightings have straightforward explanations, such as reflections from the ISS windows, space debris illuminated by sunlight, or various optical effects that create the appearance of structured objects. However, Watson also notes an interesting aspect of public response. The more NASA tries to debunk or explain these sightings, the more some people become convinced there's a conspiracy to hide the truth about alien visitation. This creates a paradox where attempts at transparency fuel conspiracy theories instead of dispelling them. For many, the idea of extraterrestrial civilizations visiting Earth is more compelling than mundane explanations like space debris or optical illusions. The psychological appeal of conspiracy theories explains why these NASA incidents generate such intense interest despite available conventional explanations. poor quality footage from space makes definitive identification difficult, leaving room for alternative theories to emerge when official explanations fall short. The ISS's live feeds have become a rich source for UFO researchers due to their unfiltered nature. Unlike edited NASA releases, live feeds capture whatever appears in the camera's field of view, including phenomena that might otherwise be filtered out. This has given independent researchers real-time access to space activities, allowing them to document unusual objects and suspicious feed interruptions. This shift in information access has changed the dynamic between space agencies and the public. No longer can agencies control the narrative by selectively releasing footage. They now face real-time scrutiny from thousands of observers worldwide. This new level of scrutiny may explain why NASA has been reluctant to directly address these incidents. Providing detailed explanations for every unusual sighting could set a difficult precedent, especially if some incidents defy conventional explanations. NASA's silence has allowed conspiracy theories to flourish. Without authoritative explanations, speculation runs unchecked, eroding trust in official institutions among those who believe they're witnessing evidence of extraterrestrial activity. Recognizing this growing issue, NASA announced in June 2022 that it would officially study unidentified aerial phenomena, signaling a shift in the agency's approach to UFO sightings. The NASA UAP study represents the agency's first serious effort to investigate unexplained aerial phenomena using scientific methods. With a budget of $100,000 and a team of 8 to 12 experts, the program focuses on analyzing existing data and developing new approaches for understanding UAP. This approach prioritizes applying conventional scientific methods rather than dismissing these phenomena without investigation. Astrophysicist David Spergel, president of the Simons Foundation, leads the study, lending significant scientific credibility to the project. However, when asked about specific goals and methodologies, both NASA officials and Spergel have remained tight-lipped, frustrating researchers seeking transparency. The limited budget has raised concerns about NASA's commitment to fully investigating these phenomena. Despite challenges, the UAP study marks a significant shift, as NASA formally recognizes the need for systematic investigation rather than dismissing UAP. This is especially notable given the broader government push for UAP disclosure, following the Pentagon's preliminary UAP report and increasing congressional pressure for transparency. The NASA study's findings could significantly impact public understanding of UAP. If the study concludes that the incidents have conventional explanations, it could dispel conspiracy theories. However, if it acknowledges some observations lack conventional explanations, it could validate years of research and spark a shift in official attitudes toward extraterrestrial visitation. The truth behind UAPs near the International Space Station may be less extraordinary than hoped or more significant than skeptics believe. Until NASA provides transparency and detailed analysis, public questions and distrust will continue. The universe remains vast and largely unexplored, and any evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence deserves serious scientific investigation, not dismissal or secrecy. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.